I thank you, Honourable Deputy Chairman of Committees. When we are discussing this Clean Sri Lanka program of the government, I went on the web and tried to familiarize myself with the program, Honourable Deputy Chairman of Committees, and I found that it was divided into three main sections: social, environmental and ethical. So when I read the social and environmental sections, those sections predominantly looked at apolitical issues, primarily to do with the environment and also cleanliness in a very physical sense. And it was only the section under ethical that I think had a slightly more wider perspective, particularly when it said the ethical section aims to build trust in the system by ensuring integrity. It was a very brief section that described it. I wish the government had a far more comprehensive program put up on the website, but at least this sentence seemed a little bit wider, reflecting the mandate that the government got at the last parliamentary and presidential elections, because the mandate was a complete overhaul in not only with regards to corruption, cleanliness in that sense, but also with regards to the whole entire culture, political culture that had plagued this country for the last 75 years. So in that sense, Honourable Deputy Chairman of Committees, I wish to bring to the notice of this government, and I'm glad the Honourable Minister for Public Security and my good friend, the Honourable Minister of Justice is here, because I wish to make a few comments about their own comments over the last few days. But I say this in a good sense, because, you know, expectations are very high. Now, I don't much agree with the main party, the JVP element of the National People's Power, because of their past positions with regards to the Tamil national question. I think the JVP has still not made their position with regards to the ethnic problem clear, or at the very least, if they have, they fall far short of what the Tamil people expect. But the National People's Power is slightly wider, or not slightly wider, it's considerably wider. And I know personally of members within the government who have very progressive views on many issues. So therefore, when we talk in terms of ethical, I think it is important that there must be, I mean, why do you use the term ethical? Obviously, it means that the last 75 years was not ethical. And that is why the people wanted a complete overhaul, and that is why you have been voted in. And when you use that term ethical, an important part of it is that you must be consistent between what you say today, what you say tomorrow, and with regards to the meaning and connotations of your own actions. I think that's very, very important. So if you take, for example, one of the biggest issues that face the Tamil people is this godforsaken Prevention of Terrorism Act. It is a law that the JVP itself, whom I might not agree with on several policy issues, the JVP itself condemns, because they were a victim of it. And what was said at the time of elections and before was that the PTA will be repealed. Now, I quite understand that to repeal a law, you will need some time to come up with a new law, if in case you do need one. I don't believe you do, but if in case the government thinks that they need one, you might take some time. But the nature of the PTA was so draconian, Honourable Deputy Chairman of Committees, that in 2015, when the then government said and gave commitments to the United Nations Human Rights Council that they will have a moratorium on the implementation and the functionality of the PTA, the current president Mr. Anurakumar Disanayaka was seated in opposition and he did not object because he himself knows the draconian nature of the PTA. But after the elections are over, the government has backtracked very quickly within the first week and stated that they will have to monitor the implementation, because it is as long as the implementation of the act and the application of the act is monitored and looked at carefully, then no fault should be done. But faults have been done. During the memorialization, there were arrests under the PTA. Subsequently, because of maybe certain policy decisions taken, the police went before courts and then withdrew the PTA charges in the B reports. But the point here, Honourable Deputy Chairman of Committees, is the law is so draconian, and you say that it is draconian because it is so wide in its possible applicability that the police will misuse it. They will always misuse it. That has been the history of this terrible law. And even if your government wishes to be otherwise, the law is applied by the police and they continue to misuse it, and that is my point. So you can't have a policy saying that you want to be ethical and then backtrack from your previous position. Actually, that empowers a police that wants to be in transition. That is the point I'm trying to make. That is the point I'm trying to make. The PTA is now being applied to teachers in schools. Yesterday, the TID has gone and questioned teachers in the Kilnuchi, Konavil Mahavidyalayam in Kilnuchi. The Parantan TID has gone and questioned them because in a function there were certain artistic interpretations that the teachers had done in a sports meet, and they have been questioned by the TID under the PTA. So surely there must be something that must be done for this. Memorialization, I'm told now by the Honourable Minister for Public Security has said that memorialization in the Northeast will be observed very carefully, will be scrutinized very carefully. Why? His justification for it is because certain people in the South have said that memorialization is terrorism or amounting to terrorism. Surely just because someone in the South says terrorism, you can't have a different form of application for the Northeast. That in itself shows that it is unethical. That in itself says that it is unethical. Just because people shout, you can't just suddenly then change your application of the PTA and the way in which you look at memorialization only in the Northeast. There's something wrong. And that is because you must be very clear. You only have 1 year. If you want to make those radical changes that you got a mandate for, you have that 1 year to make those radical changes. Because after that, if in case you falter, you won't be able to do anything. So if you're going to change the culture, I expect you to change it immediately. The more you drag it out, the more you cave into pressure. Because that is what the Public Security Minister means. If people in the South are complaining and that you're going to look at memorialization differently in the Northeast, you're caving into pressure, and that will mount more and more, and you will suffer the same path. Please give me more time, madam. Will suffer the same path as previous governments. I will conclude by just saying this. The Honourable Prime Minister is now the Minister of Education. When she was seated in opposition, actually she sat just behind me, she raised an issue with regards to the Jaffna Central College. The Jaffna Central College, there is a new principal who was appointed, a lady, and she is fully qualified. She is from the Sri Lanka Principal's Service, fully qualified, but because of political interference by Douglas Devananda, her appointment has been suspended. And a person now who is in the who's acting principal is someone who's totally unqualified. Totally unqualified. She stood up in this house and said that such political interference must stop. Must stop. Well, she is now education minister, and I urge the Prime Minister, it's over 100 days since she has come into power. She is now one of the most powerful people in this government, in this country. That is one thing that she can do. Look at these sort of things and make it's an uncontroversial issue. It's an uncontroversial issue, and she must interfere. One last thing, madam, with regards to the solar energy. For over 3 months or 4 months, solar meters are not being issued by the CEB. There are people who have spent millions. Because of the increasing rise in prices of electricity, they have invested millions. But because the CEB is not issuing these solar meters, they are at a complete loss. They have spent money, they are not able to get the benefit of that investment. And at least now, the government must look into this. These are uncontroversial issues, but with regards to the PTA and memorialization, and with regards to political prisoners, my good friend, the Minister of Justice, has said that there are no political prisoners. The JVP identifies their former prisoners as political prisoners. The President at speeches in Jaffna has said political prisoners will have to be released, and he is committed to that position. He must not.